Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Chris and this is Midlife Crisis Podcast. All right guys, got a great show for you today. Hope you enjoy it. We're going to be talking about getting back to basics. We're not going to get too deep into everything, but I thought that, as the show's progressed through this podcast, that, we kind of build up a base of understanding so that people, when we start talking about more of the different concepts and talking about, the different ways to grow our retirement and, increase our investments, that people understand where all these numbers come from. They're pretty simple concepts, but they're not something that's really taught in school or taught by a lot of people. So, we're going to kind of go through those and, hopefully that you understand them. And, if there's something that you don't understand, go ahead and make a comment down below and I'll make sure that, I look at that and respond to your comments and explain anything that you don't understand. So first we're going to move on to the first concept, and that's going to be interest. Now there's two different kinds of interest. There's simple interest and there's compound interest, and it's really important to know the difference between the two. If you invest in one without understanding what it is, it depends on your investment strategy, how much risk you want to take. There's going to be different risk levels with the compound interest and the simple interest. You are not going to see a whole lot of simple interest investments out there. Most of the investments you're going to be in are going to be compound interest. So it's good to know the difference between the two. First thing we're going to talk about is simple interest. Now, simple interest is exactly how it sounds. It's simple. So if you take an investment at, say, $10,000 and you invest it at 8%, in the first year, you're going to earn $800. Now, in the second year, with simple interest, you're actually going to earn the same amount because your simple interest rate is based off your initial investment. So, in the first year, you're going to have $10,800 after 1 year. After the second year, you're going to have $11,600. And after 5 years, you're going to have $14,000. So, like I say, that's a pretty simple concept to get. The next one we're going to talk about is compound interest, okay? Compound interest is still simple, but it's different in how it's calculated. So in your first year, after the first year, you're going to have $10,800. That's really not going to change. In your second year, though, is where the change comes in. Your interest is not only based off of your initial investment, but it's also based off of the interest that you earned in the first year. So instead of just calculating another $800, it's going to be $800 plus the interest off your $800 of earned interest from the first period. So in the second year, you're actually going to have $11,664. And that is going to keep going like that. And after 5 years, you're going to have $14,693. So the advantage to investing with compound interest is you're actually going to earn almost an extra $700. So you can see how that can be to your advantage. And as your investment stays in there longer, I just went out to 5 years so that we didn't make it too complex. But one of the next concepts we're actually going to be getting into is the Rule of 72. And the Rule of 72 is going to show you how you can use that compound interest to increase your investments quicker. So without getting too much into that, I'm just going to move right into the Rule of 72. So the Rule of 72 is a pretty simple concept as well. So what the Rule of 72 is whatever your interest rate is, divided into 72 is going to tell you how long it's going to take for you to double your money. So if you have an interest rate of 12%, 12 into 72 equals 6. So that's how long it's going to take you to double your money. Same thing, you can use that with any number. So 8%, and 8% is going to be a number that we're going to use quite often because I think 8% is a really realistic number when we're calculating returns on the stock market. There's a lot of different theories out there on what the stock market historical return has been. You'll hear numbers anywhere from 7% up to 12%. So I kind of chose 8% because it's towards the lower end and it works well when we're doing calculations for the Rule of 72. So, you might have a different interest rate, you might be earning a different interest rate, but just for the purpose of our calculations today and for the show, that's the number we're going to use. So at 8%, it's going to take 9 years to double. At 6%, it's going to take 12 years to double. So you can see how, choosing an investment with a higher interest rate is going to be an advantage to you and help you to increase your investment over the long term. So, we'll do a couple examples here. So with the rule 72, say 10% invested at 4% interest at the age of 25 years old, 4% is going to double every 18 years. So again, how we get that is 72 divided by 4 is 18. So you can see that if you invested at $10,000 at age 43, that's 18 years later, you're going to have $20,000. At the age of 61, which is where it's going to double again, you're going to have $40,000. So you can see how that works for the doubling. But I wanted to show you how it would look if we were to invest at 8%. So at 8% again, 72 divided by 8% is going to be 9. So every 9 years, your money's going to double. So at 34 years, you're going to get to 20,000. So in the previous example, it was 43 years. At this one, it's 34 years where your money's going to first double. So then the next doubling is going to be at 43 years old. That's going to be $40,000. So you're already double of where you would have been before. At 52, it's going to be 80,000, and at 61, it's going to be 160,000. So in those two examples, you can see how investing at a better interest rate is going to be to your advantage in the long term. Now, this example is just using the premise that you're going to invest $10,000 and you're going to leave it, and you're not going to be adding to it every year, and you're not going to see fluctuations. So, we're talking average return on the stock market. So, you might end up, if we have a good 10-year stretch, you might end up with a little bit better interest rate than that, depending on what kind of mutual fund you're invested in, or if you're invested in single stocks or some kind of different investment account. But for our example, we're just using a mutual fund, and we're just using average stock market without a bunch of fluctuations and not adding extra money and extra contributions to your investment account. So just keep that in mind. Now you might be wondering, why this really matters. Well, one of the things that I made the mistake in my life is I didn't invest money early on in life. I, was busy raising a family, busy buying stuff that I thought made me, look important, feel important. And I didn't invest a whole lot of money. I wasted a lot of money on things like cars and guns and, and parties and, vacations and things like that, instead of actually looking forward to when I was getting older. Now that I'm at, 46 years old, now I have to worry about retirement, and instead of actually having my money work for me, I actually have to work for my money. So, I have to, put so much more in there because, by the time I get to retirement, it's only going to have a couple times from here on in to retire or to double. So being at 46, if I invest at 8%, it's going to be 55 for my first doubling, and it's going to be 64 at my second doubling. So if I was just to invest $20,000 now, that'd only be $80,000 by retirement. So I've got to actually be more aggressive. I have to try and get more aggressive interest rates, and I actually have to be contributing on a regular basis to try and get my retirement up to a point where I can retire comfortably and retire, with some dignity. So that's why I encourage anyone who's out there that's, 20 to 30 years old to start investing now. Even if you just invest a lump sum now and let that money work for you over the long term, you're going to be way much further ahead than a lot of us in our middle age. So, and if you can, invest a little bit of money out of your paychecks. I mean, one of the great things about investing money out of your paychecks is that it's, if you're investing into a 401k, it's pre-tax money, so it's going to lower your money, lower your income over time. Every year you're not going to be paying taxes on that, so it's to your advantage that way. And since it's pre-tax, for every $50 you invest, your net cost on that is only going to be $40 to $45 in a lower income level. As you get into higher income levels, your advantage is increased, and you're going to save more money off your taxes every year. So something to think about. Now, net worth, that's the next thing I'd like to talk about. A lot of people are a little confused over what net worth is, and net worth is actually pretty simple. Net worth is your total assets minus your total liabilities. So if you have a $250,000 house and you owe $215,000 on it, your net worth is going to be $35,000. Now that's just a simple calculation. You have to take into account your assets like your vehicles, your personal possessions, jewelry, firearms, things like that. That all counts towards your net worth. So I guess on a more basic level is whatever you have, if you could sell it and pay off all the loans that you have on it or all the money owing, whatever's left over, that's going to be your net worth. So now when we're looking into retirement, net worth is an important factor to know because you want to know generally where you should be in life at any certain time to actually retire with some dignity. So we're going to talk about what your net worth should actually be. So there's a simple calculation. You'll see it up on the screen there. So the simple way to calculate what your net worth should be at any age is you take your age times your yearly income and then you divide it by 10. So that just kind of gives you a rule of thumb at your age where you should be. As you get later in life, obviously, there's going to be changes in your income and things like that. So, that's not necessarily the be all and end all rule, but it is a good rule of thumb. So as you can see from the calculation on the screen right now, if you're 25 years old, you make $24,000 a year, you multiply 25 times 24,000, divide that by 10, and it'll show that your net worth should be about $60,000. All right. And so that net worth could be anywhere from your savings to your investments to maybe equity in your house. It could be paid off vehicles, whatever it is that you own that's worth some value should calculate out to about $60,000. So, it kind of gives you a rule of thumb to know whether or not you're ahead of the game or behind the game. And, one of the things that I like to use it for is for goal setting. Okay, so they say that you're more likely to achieve a goal. It's about 80% you're more likely to achieve a goal if you write it down. So if you know what your net worth should be and you write that down, it gives you a starting point so you can actually look and say, okay, well, I'm behind right now, but I need to get to this point. Well, to get to this point, what can I do? And then you can start making plans and making goals and get to the point where you need to be. Maybe you're way ahead in life, okay? That's not necessarily a bad thing, but at that point, you run into financial troubles or something like that. At that point, you can say, okay, well, I'm way ahead of where I need to be in life. This is just a short-term setback. We can adjust our retirement down, or we can, maybe take out a small personal loan or something like that. It's a good point so you can gauge where you are financially and where you need to be, so that you're not sabotaging your own retirement. So anyway, that's why I bring up that net worth calculation. It's a good thing. Maybe everyone out there, you calculate what your net worth should be, write it down on a piece of paper, and make that a goal to make sure that you're always maintaining that kind of level of net worth. So it also helps, I guess, when you're, looking at whether or not you can afford more house. Maybe if you can afford a better car or something like that, it keeps everything in perspective and gives you a little bit of reality. So that's about it for today. It's a little bit of a shorter show, but these are some basic concepts, and I don't think that really do us any good to overtalk them and overthink them. I think that it's just a good starting point. The next shows, we'll talk about some different concepts. I'd like to get into maybe some different things like debt management, debt collections, things like that some people might be dealing with. Maybe make a comment down below what you'd like to see in some of the next shows, and then what you'd like me to expand on. These concepts here, I don't really think I could expand too much. So, but maybe these concepts will lead into something else that you'd like to learn about. Anyway, if you enjoyed the content today, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell notification so you're notified when new videos do go up. And again, leave a comment. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll see you next time.